Aloha everyone, hope you're having a glorious day. We are on a journey through Revelation and we are going chapter by chapter, so you can just read a bite-sized chapter each time you review one of these videos. And today we have a vision into heaven's throne room, so buckle up, it's going to be exciting. Let's dive right in. We learned that a door in heaven stands open, and this harkens back to Ezekiel. Many of the references today are going to be back to Ezekiel and Isaiah. And so in Ezekiel 1:1, we see the same thing. And why? It's to be shown what must take place after these things. Wait, after what things? After the inaugural event of Christ's first coming, to fulfill future end-time promises from the Old Testament. So the Old Testament prophesied about things that were not yet fulfilled in the first coming of Jesus. So there's God that is described with radiance, precious jewels, jasper, ruby, and a rainbow like emerald. We see this jasper reappear in the new creation, in the New Jerusalem in chapter 21:11, when the heavenly radiance fills the entire creation here on earth. But God appears with flashes of lightning and roaring crashes of thunder. So this happens every time that we uncover God's judgments in the seals, in the trumpets, and in the bowls. And underneath there's a sea of crystal glass. And this speaks to his transcendent and separate nature from his creation, coming from Ezekiel 1:22. Now, usually, to the writer of this time and the reader of this time, the sea is chaotic. So we see this in 13:1, 20:13, and 21:1. The sea is an evil realm of the dead. But here, it's tame and under sovereign control. Now, we move to the four living creatures. These are the creatures of dominion that are sent out in all creation. So we have a lion, ox, human face, and eagle. Now, the lion is the dominion of authority sent out. The ox is power. The human face is the wisdom. And eagle is sacredness. Now, it's really interesting that they're called the four living creatures. Why do you need to call a creature that is clearly living, living? Well, it has to do with the fulfillment of all these things. Because later, I won't spoil it, but later in chapter 6, we're going to see how these dominions have been corrupted here on earth. But we're going to see their perfection as they are described as in and around the throne. In other words, this is dominion of authority, power, wisdom, and sacredness that has been completely fulfilled in one person who is worthy of our allegiance, who is worthy of our worship. So this is the throne room, the Christophany, the theophany of Jesus. And why? Because he is dominion of authority is the lion, the king from the tribe of Judah. His dominion of power in the ox came as a humble servant, a meek servant. His dominion of wisdom, the human face, he was the second Adam, fully human. And his dominion of holiness in the eagle was fully God, sinless. He has a divine nature that ascended to God. Then we see the seven spirits of God. And this is from Isaiah 11:2. So 7 again means complete. So this is the complete and holy Spirit of God. And in Isaiah 11:2, we learn what the seven spirits of God are. The Spirit of the Lord, the Spirit of wisdom, the Spirit of understanding, the Spirit of counsel, the Spirit of power, the Spirit of knowledge, the Spirit of the fear of the Lord. Now, in order to understand these four living beings, we have to go back to Ezekiel and Isaiah, because Ezekiel, remember, he's exiled in Babylon from Jerusalem, and he sees the glory of the presence of God in Babylon. And he asked, what is God up to when at the opening of his book, Ezekiel, he says, why is the presence of God, in other words, the theophany, the Christophany, in Babylon? What is it doing here in Babylon? So there's this presence, even in the Old Testament, of the complete and perfect presence of Christ in the theophany, in God, represented in this chariot. And it's not in Jerusalem at the temple. Now, the temple was where God and humanity overlapped. So it belonged in Jerusalem, but we'll find out why not. Because the entire plan that is in Revelation can be understood just by reading Ezekiel. So in Ezekiel, we learn that Israel's idolatry has driven the presence of God away. And this is found in chapter 11 because it's their compromise with the world. But God returns to his people in the New Jerusalem. So this is found in chapters 40 to 48. And likewise, Ezekiel is absolutely awestruck by the sight of this theophany, this Christophany, the glory of the presence of God. Now, Isaiah, same thing, he is purified. And it says that God's presence, this representation of God's theophany, purifies. It says your guilt is taken away and your sin is atoned for. So Isaiah comes into the glory of the presence of God, this theophany, this Christophany, and he's purified. He's not killed. Everyone knew that if you saw God face to face, you would be killed. But Isaiah was not. He was purified. His lips were purified. So this is very different than what he expected. See, many people see God's presence being sent out into the world in love, much like Jesus at his first coming. But Revelation gives us a very different image of the second coming of Jesus. It inspires a very different posture. And that's detailed in the end of chapter 4 with a bowing down, a giving up, a complete overwhelm of the awestruck glory in worship to the one who is worthy of our allegiance. I hope you enjoyed chapter 4 of Vision into the Throne Room, and I look forward to talking with you next time.